So I hope you guys have heard that song from the early 2000s and you guys like that little nostalgic throwback, right? But actually that is a description of the current situation in the stock markets and also in the crypto markets, right? You can see that the Nasdaq was down 4% yesterday. 4%. At the low, it was down 4.77%, I believe, or like 4.8 something percent. And in the futures, you can see that the futures are down 0.81% on the Nasdaq. So currently we are in a correction for the Nasdaq. I think we're down like from the peak. Now it's about 10-15% already. And then when you look at crypto, Bitcoin is at 77.5 thousand now. So just a month ago, it was like 98,000, right? And just about 2 months ago, a Bitcoin president was coming in, Donald Trump was coming in, and everyone thought that was going to go to 200K, right? So you can see that obviously the mentality of investors have shifted a lot, right? So today I want to talk about the actual reason that the stock and crypto markets are crashing. And obviously I just want to say before I start that there is no exact one reason, right? It's always a mix of reasons. So well-informed analysis will always tell you it's a mix of reasons, right? Not always one single factor unless there's nuclear war or something like that, right? So this is a piece from the Publicity letter, and this really describes quite accurately what's happening, right? Whether this is the only reason, we'll get into that later, but I thought this was a really good post from them, right? So let's start, right? Let's begin with the timeline. Markets have known the trade war was coming since early as mid-2024, right? So during his campaign trail, Donald Trump did say that tariff is the most beautiful words in the dictionary, right? So in December, tariff threats ramped up even before Donald Trump got into office, right? He started tweeting and talking about it already, right? And we saw many all-time highs in the S&P after that. Even after the trade war began, February 1st, we saw more all-time highs, right? So if you take a look, Trump wins election here, Trump tariff threats begin. This is, the time frame is, this is November. This is early January, I think. And then the trade war really begins, right? And then you can see one last rally up, and then we have just been straight down from there, right? So we can see here that the stock market is down 4 trillion in 3 weeks, right? And this excludes all the crypto market. Crypto itself is down 1.3 trillion, right? And that's pretty insane, right? Considering that the whole crypto market is only 2.7 trillion now. And basically it's down 33% from its all-time highs. So since February 20th, the S&P has erased a whopping 4.5 trillion in market cap. That's $350 billion a day for the last 13 days straight, right? So the Nasdaq is now just 8% away from entering a bear market since 2022, right? So what changed so quickly? You can take a look at this. And then next you take a look. The trade war is simply the scapegoat. The real reason behind the market's decline is a sudden shift in risk appetite. We have gone from extreme greed to extreme fear in a matter of days. The position was so polarized that we swung in the complete different direction, right? And you can see that all the actually the Max 7 stocks are not holding up well, right? Yesterday, I think Google was down like 7%, Amazon is down 4%. All the big tech stocks were getting hammered, right? Especially Tesla and also the Nvidia, right? So just want to bring up one point that they don't mention here. Actually, the valuations for these companies are extremely high, right? I would say except for Amazon and also Google, everything else is trading very, very high, right? So I think that is part of the reason as well. So I would say the main 3 reasons now that I can think of, according to this article, is high valuations. The second is sentiment has changed a lot, and the third is trade wars, right? So let's continue reading and see what's next. So where it gets even more interesting is that institutional capital exited before the decline in tech stocks. So smart money always one step ahead of quote-unquote dumb money, right? So this doesn't mean that you have to be a hedge fund to be considered smart money, right? Because there's a lot of dumb money in hedge funds as well, right? That's why I'm using that term, right? So this is not to be offensive to anyone, but if you say that all hedge funds are smart money and all retail is dumb money, so if you have that kind of definitions, I wouldn't really even bother arguing with you, right? So heading into 2025, hedge funds exposure to the Max 7 fell to a 22 months low. Take a look at the divergence between Nasdaq and the positioning. So on the gray line is the Nasdaq going up, and the Magnificent 7 is actually going down, right? This is something that you spotted when Chinese stocks started rallying, and people were saying that their funds were rotating out of the Max 7 into Chinese stocks, right? So on the February 9th, sorry, it should be 9th of February, institutional investors built the largest Ethereum short position in history. This came as retail investors plunged into crypto on hopes of a US strategic reserve, right? And crypto is down 1 trillion even after all the bullish promises Trump has given, right? So actually that's a very, very good point, because Trump is actually the most bullish crypto president we've ever seen, right? And the prices cannot go up. And I think one of the main reasons is because expectations were too high. And also this time around, right, because people expect euphoric moves from Bitcoin, it's just not going to happen because there's not enough retail capital this time around, because all retail has basically been sucked out of the market by the 2022 market crash, right? So nowadays that's why you can see there's no like altcoin season this time around, right? You can say maybe there was an altcoin season. Maybe let's take a look at Tron. Maybe there's an altcoin season somewhere here. You can see back in December, right? But not after that, right? Normally people expect altcoin season to come after Bitcoin has topped, right? And you can see Bitcoin topped in late December? No, early January. So you can see that after Bitcoin top, there was no rotation of capital from Bitcoin into altcoins, right? Because my theory is that this time is that all the Bitcoin holders, or a lot of the Bitcoin holders, are actually the institutional investors, right? And institutional investors, other than Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're not really buying anything, right? Maybe Solana, but not XRP, not stuff like this, right? Because XRP, their foundation actually holds like 60% of all the XRP in existence, right? So let's look at the next tweet. Crypto is even more supportive of our thesis. Take a look at the most bullish crypto developments that happened over the last 2 months. Even a US Bitcoin reserve became a sell the news event. And I was looking at this, right? Actually, it was quite crazy, right? So what changed? Clearly a shift in risk appetite. So you can see Trump wins the election. Trump meme coin, I missed out on this. Could have made a lot of money on this. Gary Gensler resigns, and then you can see it's just going down. And then meme coins are ruled as not securities, then it just continue to go down. US strategic reserve, and this was the night before where Trump pump and dump the Bitcoin markets, right? XRP, Solana, and Cardano had insane moves, right? It was like 30, 40, 80% moves, right? And just like pumping it. And then the next day he announces tariffs, and this is the dump. And now we are going even lower, right? So next, in December 2024, sentiment was so bullish that Apollo published their risk in 2025 with a 0% chance of recession, right? So when everyone is saying there's a 0% chance of recession, right, I think it's time to be very, very careful. And this is the stance that I've had since I think mid 2024, right? That we are still going to see a recession, right? I don't believe this time is different, and I quite frankly, if the markets continue to do this, maybe we don't have a recession, but the markets get hammered anyways, right? So meanwhile, they saw a 90% of tariffs coming in 2025. Markets have known about tariffs for months, and the decline is not due to tariffs. This I do not really believe, because I think markets have known about tariffs for a few months, but they didn't expect the retaliation to be so much, right? Because you look at China tariffs after Trump announced tariffs, right? So you can see Chinese shoppers shrug off. So this is the one that I'm looking for. China to impose extra tariffs on US agricultural imports on Monday. And I think this is not that concerning if it's just China, right? But it's China, it's Mexico, it's the Canada, it's Europe. So these are like the countries that are having like trade wars with the US, right? And I think added of that together, I think it will be very painful for the US consumer. And one more thing is that if you have that amount of trade wars and all of that, inflation will definitely start to take up, right? So when we take a look at Trueflation, you can see they think it's at 1.4% now, right? So next we have to take a look at Fear and Greed Index. Is the lowest since the 2022 bear market. Okay, after that, sentiment shifts really quick. Record outflows in February. And actually, February has been a very, very bad month for a lot of funds, right? Apparently, like those big hedge funds have been losing hundreds of millions of dollars in February, right? Because of the volatility. So this is US small caps outflows. Basically, VIX is spiking. So this is another Kobisi letter tweet that was very useful, right? So the interview that broke the market, right? 24 hours ago, Trump joined Fox News and acknowledged a recession may be coming, right? And this has really obviously destroyed the market, right? Because once he said that, basically, there's so many things happening, right? Because the first thing is a GDP estimate crash, and then Trump says he's not watching the stock market. Somewhere between here, the Treasury Secretary also said he's not watching the market, and Trump says recession might be coming, right? So that's all for the Kobisi letter tweets. If you're enjoying the video so far, do help me smash up the like button, hit subscribe, and also hit the bell button. This will help out the channel immensely, and I thank you very much. So this is another theory that I read about, but I wasn't able to find the tweet, right? So we can see that the 10-year treasury since the peak, 4.793%. Let's just put that in our calculator. 0.4793. And then we minus the current yield, which is 0.4161. So you can see that this is the difference, right, between the 10-year yields from early January to currently, right? Currently we're on the 11th of March. So this is the difference, right? And I'm calculating this because the next thing we're going to look at is the national debt clock, which is 36.5 trillion, right? And you can see, according to the CBO, approximately 33% of US publicly held debt is going to mature within the next 12 months, right? So this is another master plan by Trump, if it is his master plan, right? Is to basically crash the economy, right? And blame it on Biden first of all, because these few months you can always say that, oh, you know, Biden was, you know, cooking the books, you know. Federal government had like overhired. Now we just need to cut the jobs. You know, Biden was reporting wrong numbers and stuff like that, right? So you can still do that 2 months into your presidency, right? But if you're talking about like 6 months in or 8 months in or 12 months in, you can't exactly blame Biden, right? And the reason that this number is important is because 33% of the US national debt is actually 12 trillion, right? So let's just times this by 12 trillion, billions, and 12 trillion, right? So if we take a look at this, it's $758 billion in interest costs. If this is Trump's plan, right, it's already $758 billion if they refinance it, especially with long-term debt, right? And then they can lock in this lower yields, right, compared to, you know, this like 4.8 or 5%, especially if they are planning to inflate the economy in the second half of the Trump presidency, right? So what will happen is they push the rates down. Everyone expects inflation to be low, you know, recession, and then they lock in the rate maybe with a 10-year or 20-year or even a 30-year treasury at like maybe 3% or 3.5%. If this ever gets so low, which is definitely possible because it's from 4.8%, now we're at 4.15%, right? 4.616%, right? So this is already the savings, and he can double the savings, right? If he just gets it to like 3.5%, that's 1.5 trillion in interest every year. So if this is Trump's master plan, this is really a stroke of genius, right? If he can get it to 3.5%, which I don't see why not, you'll be saving 1.5 trillion on the US interest every year if you refinance it at like a 20-year mortgage right now. Sorry, not a 20-year mortgage, obviously a 20-year treasury, right? So if you refinance it with a 20-year treasury right now, imagine the savings, right? 1.5 trillion, like Trump is going to be looked at as a hero, right? So these are the reasons why I believe the market is crashing right now, right? So this is more of a macro video. I'm not talking about individual stocks or anything like that, but it's very, very helpful to understand the macro environment we're in, right? And potentially what is the plan of, you know, these big figures, these political figures, right? So if you take a look at Scott Bessent, right, essentially what he said is there's no Trump put, right? And this is the Treasury Secretary, right? So it's a very important figure, right? Because everyone thought there would be a Trump put because in the first Trump presidency, he basically said that, you know, I gauged my success by the stock market, right? But right now, they have literally come out and say that, you know, we don't care about the stock market in the short term. I think in the long term, obviously, they still care because there's wealth effects and all of that, right? But in the short term, the stock market has gotten so frothy and investors have made so much money that, you know, if they lose a bit of their gains, can't complain that much about it and then blame Biden, right? So I want to know your thoughts. What is Trump's master plan at this current point in time, in your view, right? Is it that he has no idea what he's doing? He's just crashing the markets because he's not that as smart as we thought? Or does he actually have a master plan to reduce the debt burden by 1.5 trillion every year. So yeah, that's about all I wanted to share today. If you did enjoy the video and you found it insightful, do help me smash up the like button, hit subscribe, and also hit the bell button. With that being said, have a fantastic day ahead and peace out.